Hi, I'm Hillary Taymour, the creative director of Collina Strada.
Hi, my name is Cyrill. I'm the CEO and founder of Parley For the Oceans.
So nice to see you today. It's been a while. I'm going to ask you some questions and it's going to be fun. So, where do you feel like the fashion industry can make significant progress when it comes to material use and waste?
The fashion industry has, on their own, a very toxic and harmful supply chain. And also everything that surrounds fashion, the production, the marketing, the presentation, the sales, is coming with a huge carbon footprint and other pollutants, plastic pollution, chemicals, etc. I think the biggest impact that fashion can really have is to change the idea of luxury. Not anymore thinking that a very rare material is so special because it comes from an animal that I have to hunt, but more or less understanding that protecting the environment, protecting the future really, is the new luxury.
And so, what do you say, like, how would you go about that if you can make any change?
What we're trying to achieve with our partners is to totally rethink the toolbox that they're using, the fabrics they're using, but also like starting in, like, why do I actually make this product in the first place? And what do I do with all the products I'm making and nobody buys, which goes into your direction, right? But at the end of the day, it's the mission really of the fashion industry to discover the new materials, like create value for alternatives and not treating them as I would say, a sacrifice or an alternative, a replacement for otherwise prestigious materials, but seeing something very valuable in future materials and stuff that is grown by nature. And I think that's the biggest contribution fashion can really have.
I always think of also to rethink the supply chain and see like how you can change and navigate things that you used to do a certain way and maybe change them to help better impact the planet as well. I think like, you know, by changing where you're going to produce, if the material comes from here, and save the shipping, things like this I think are really important.
Cutting down transport, and also, as you do, working with local communities, working with people where you are actually also later selling the product.
Exactly.
Bring also back the work to the people.
Yeah.
I mean, and also paying people fair wages. Yeah. I think exploiting staff leads automatically also to an environmental disaster.
Totally.
Because people can only care for the environment if they have enough to eat. So let's talk about you and your brand. You made a lot of low impact choices. You looked for your niche to approach, I would say, a more environmental friendly direction of making fashion. Mm-hmm. Explain please what you're doing with Deadstock and stuff.
Yeah, so basically with Collina Strada, I really approach a collection with fabrication first and materials first. I never really think about what we're going to use based off of a design. I always am like, these are the fabrics I have and I design around them. And I think that's really the most impactful way to start a collection, and it doesn't detour me too much to making bad choices or fast shipping, you know, adjustments and things like that. So I keep it really what I've sourced, what I think is good value, like good materials, things that I believe in, things that we can produce, things that we find. We use a lot of Deadstock fabrics from a place, and so the way I use Deadstock fabrics is I'll buy all of what they have, and then I'll use it, and I'll continue to use it until it's done. And so by doing...
So you never see a fabric going out of season?
Well, I buy like raw goods, so like it'll be like beige, and then I'll dye it pink, or I'll dye it blue, or something like that to keep it going through seasonality. So every season will be like slightly different, but it's the same raw material. And so then what we try to do is stockpile this Deadstock. We stockpile it for our jerseys and our hoodies. But yeah, I think it's super important to start with material first. Where are you getting that material? Where are you producing the actual garment? How much does it have to travel to get to where you're going? All these things are really important, and I always think about that before I get to the end garment, which is, I think, a unique way to approach design.
So you base your collections on the ingredients you have at hand. Mm-hmm. It's like cooking.
Yeah, cooking vegan.
What are, you're a vegan brand, right? Mm-hmm. So what are the biggest challenges to be a vegan brand?
I mean, it's hard to get your it accessory, which most brands survive off of, being vegan. So we typically partner with a lot of higher volume brands, such as like UGG, for instance. We're working with them and we're making the first, like, they have a secret UGG vegan leather that's made out of corn. And it's really nice and it actually works, unlike some of the other vegan leathers that's not too plastic based. And so things like that, we can create accessories by partnering with larger formatted companies who have been working on these sustainable, leather alternatives for a long time. So I find that using someone else's technology as a small brand is really important for us. And then we also create leather goods with Vigia. Have you heard of it? The grapes.
Yeah.
That one I like the best so far, but I've tried a lot and they're all come with their, pros and cons.
Yeah, there's a big challenge with biofabricated leathers, right?
Yeah.
There's often still this like bit of plastic they're throwing in anyway.
Yeah.
The binders are the biggest issue.
Yeah.
And then in making stuff, we discussed it, they don't perform like leather, but you always compare them with leather. It's the attempt to mimic really, right?
Yeah, and also like they'll rip at the seams or they fall apart or they don't like wear as long or they rub and,
The partnership with UGG, what was special about that?
I loved working with them just to be able to create a strong shoe, I thought, in this like vegan material, and just they allowed me to be completely creatively free. And I always love a partner that lets you do whatever you desire.
Is there like a remainder that you leave behind when you end a partnership with them? Do you feel that you changed something in such a company?
Yeah, because basically what I love to do when I approach a company like that, I'm like, what are the, best sustainable options you've been working on in the past 10 years and what haven't you used yet? And I'm like, let me be your test dummy. And then because they're smaller, productions than their normal typical production, they can really take a chance in using this new material. So hopefully afterwards, if it's a successful launch with these materials, they'll hopefully continue to use them. And I think that's like ultimately how you make small or large impacts.
Yeah, that's the biggest role that capsule collections or partnerships can play, right?
Yeah.
That you open up the inline production.
Yeah, exactly.
Do people react weird when they learn that you're vegan?
Not as much in 2023 and on, but before, yeah. Especially like, friends are like, well, what do you eat at this menu? I'm like, it's fine, don't worry. But I always find it quite easy, and I've always been fine, but yeah, I don't know. Are you vegan? Do people act weird towards you?
Yes, they
Really?
do. Yeah, they feel that I should eat something normal. Or they call it out and say, oh, but there should also be food at the event for normal people.
Oh my God.
So not being normal is for me associated with like plant-based diet,
which
is totally fine for me.
Yeah. I always find it hard when you do dinners or like branded dinners, and I'll be like, but we're vegan, so a vegan brand, so you can't serve anything, and the restaurants freak out. They always freak out, and they're like, well, what are we gonna make?
Exactly.
And I'm like, no, pasta.
Yeah.
Literally.
There's enough. I mean, there's so much you can do.
There's so much, and that I find it limiting, like when people, those are not creative humans.
Yeah.
If once they freak out about stuff like that, like use your brain, use your imagination.
A lot of people want to support us by hosting seafood dinners.
That checks out.
That is the most surprising thing for me. That if
Yeah.
somebody wants to support you and throw a dinner, and then they want to eat these animals that you are actually up to protect. I love that.
Yeah, that's so backwards.
Yeah.
Wow.
What scares you?
My biggest fear is water right now. I think that
Clean water or
clean water,
scarcity of
access
water?
to clean water, scarcity of water. I think that is going to be a huge impact on us sooner than we think. I'm scared about the climate crisis and the severe weather that we're going to be impacted with in the next couple of years.
Which is now real, right? It's not anymore
It's not a
utopian
joke.
fantasy.
No, it's very real, and I think we need to be conscious when these things happen or these devastating events occur to why they're happening. And maybe if we all change our lifestyle, we can actually make severe impacts to help reverse anything that we can at this point. And I feel like we need to start building communities in order to create like-minded souls to help live the way that we should be living on this planet at this time, which is so not about creating products, and it's so much bigger and a deeper rooted issue than that. It's about everything you do in a day and what, from getting a coffee to going to lunch, and your impact that you have as one single human being is so much greater than you think. So I really would love to create, I don't know, a new way of living.
New value
That's
system.
Awesome. Yeah, a new value system. And maybe a remote island system.
That's awesome.
Yeah, let's do that.
Future island nation.
Yeah, future island nation would be great. And our flag, I can design the flag.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
We got an island. Just love it. And then what makes you optimistic? What drives you? Or are you fear-driven, or are you like idea and positive-driven?
I'm so fear-driven, but then if you look at my shows, I'm so positive because I truly believe that people can only learn and want to make real change through optimism. And unless you make it seem fun, they're not going to want to make these huge life changes. So I'm like, with a huge smile on your face.
We're going all down,
Yeah.
but here's an encouragement.
Yeah, like the world's on fire, but like we're still here and we're making a fashion show, but like here's what we should do differently.
So you believe in humans, you believe in the power to change.
I believe in humanity. Individual humans I find not trustworthy, but I believe as a community and humanity that we can together change as one, hopefully. Okay, so what were some of your takeaways from attending the COP28 and what inspired you most there?
COP28 was brutally honest. You are invited into an oil country that obviously lives and breathes in that way because of oil. And we are asking them to stop selling oil.
Right.
So it's obviously a challenge for people that build a business, a livelihood, countries even, societies, on the production of oil. So that was the, I would say, brutal reality shock. On the other side, what I really loved was that you could have a conversation with everyone. And I had the best conversations ever.
Okay.
And I found more allies than in years before.
Cool.
And I didn't go to COP for a while because I didn't per se believe in the positive outcome of that convening. So it was actually a new attempt for me to give that forum a space in my schedule.
That's cool. Okay, tell us about your collaboration with Biofabricate and what you're hoping to achieve through this partnership.
We're working since 2017 with Biofabricate,
Okay.
with Suzanne and Amy. And they are a convening power for material innovators. And I 100% believe that their intentions are great.
Can you explain Biofabricate to the world
So
for us?
biofabrication describes a material direction that is based on hacking nature, hacking cells, working with organisms that are creating stuff in nature, that are coloring your eyes, growing your hair, repairing my skin, growing corals, etc. Even like the plants out there, it's not just a plant, there are like so many small little organisms being responsible for different aspects of growing that plant. And isolating these organisms and deploying them on missions, like you please color, you please glue, you create concrete, you grow a fiber, you try to replace leather. That's what biofabrication really is.
Okay.
And I believe in that. Even if there's a scary aspect to it, because we are again altering nature on a very, I would say, specific level.
Right. So do you guys make products yet?
We started a new arm of Parley. It's called Future Material.
Okay.
And with that, we invest into material innovators.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it. So
And
that's where the banana...
Here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, total natural materials. And banana tex is a good example. It's like a natural material, 100% natural, no toxic fertilizers, pesticides, no toxic coatings. That's the extreme, I go and hug 1,000 tree direction. Then the other side is Tomtex or Modern Synthesis. These are companies that we also invested in that are growing things with organisms. That's biofabrication.
Yeah.
And then there's green chemistry with people like John Warner, the godfather of green chemistry, who defined the principle of green chemistry and aims at a chemistry toolkit that is non-toxic. Because interesting enough, chemists don't really learn about toxicity in school.
Weird.
No, they don't know.
So they don't know the effects that they're having.
Yeah, they often don't know. And often even substances or things that are being introduced to the market, they get tested afterwards.
Yikes.
So they get actually taken back from the market if they turn out to be toxic or harmful. And it should be the other way around. We should not put new stuff out there, which we are not 100% sure it's safe.
Can we talk a little bit of the differences between Bananatex, Tomtex? Maybe talk about the product a little bit.
Yeah. Bananatex is this fabric made from pretty much the strongest fiber on planet Earth. It's abaca, coming from the Philippines. And the interesting thing is it's a type of a banana plant that only grows in permaculture. That means it needs other species of plants to live. It needs also big trees to cast shadow. And it's a perfect answer really for deserted land where reforestation took place to bring life back and to heal the soil, and it's great for farmers to cultivate these plants because they can mix it by farming coconut trees, and the coconut husks actually serve as fertilizers and stuff.
Cool.
So it's a beautiful, I would say, from the origin of the material, it's a beautiful story.
So you're making like a little ecosystem with the
Here
growth.
we go, exactly. It's all about that.
Perfect.
Technically, a good supply chain is an ecosystem in my eyes.
Yeah, it has to be, or else you're just cultivating for waste and use.
Yeah, and trying to isolate and silo up these different things are not making any sense.
Right. So then we talk about lots of pros and cons because everything has a pro and everything has a con. Can we talk a little bit about bananas cons?
Yeah, I mean, the cons of a natural material is that it doesn't often meet the same performance as a synthetic material.
Right. And
If you want to apply it to sports or something, it's hard, right? Yeah. It doesn't have it's not elastic as it should.
Exactly.
It's not wearing as long. It doesn't give you these attributes that we are so used to now when we are going into a shop and buying a high-tech piece of athletic garment, right? And so durability is definitely an issue. And then also the look. If you want a more like technical look, then it's very hard to avoid synthetic materials.
Yeah, but I do believe that with stuff like this, for a designer like myself, I can find and create beauty within these fabrications. And if you're making trend-based products, the lifeline, unfortunately, is not that long. I would ideally love to say that people wear it for years and years and years and years. In this day and age, it's unfortunately just not true. So I think by creating trend products with fabrication like this, even though Bananatex loves to travel, we just create with this, it's much more, mainstream, like visible.
I agree with you.
Correct.
I think that your approach of starting with the material and designing based on that material at hand is the perfect way to do it. And every material has its beauty.
Cyrill just called me perfect.
Yeah, exactly. Here we go. That's it. Yeah. Highlight of the interview.
Yeah.
Every material has its beauties and every material has its fragility. And celebrating or carving out this total strength of a material, I think that is, interesting.
Yeah.
But it asks for a different way of designing. If you're used to design your piece or your collection and you already have all materials in mind that you're going to use, and then you more or less allocate materials from libraries that are out there and that are provided to you, and you are actually starting with this mindset that everything is accessible to you and available to you, you're making total different design choices as if you start with a limited toolbox from the beginning.
Yeah.
And both can lead to a very perfect outcome, really.
Yeah.
And that's what we did with Kim Jones. We showed him the Bananatex, and he made an outfit for us, and it looks phenomenal.
Amazing.
He actually broke the material that was rather stiff before, and suddenly it's gentle and smooth, and the outfit was phenomenal.
He washed it, or
he worked with the manufacturers to really optimize it, and he would do it in a way that we would probably not think of.
Amazing.
The designer actually has the control over the material.
Yeah.
If she or he goes, I would say, closer to the making of a material and not just picks by
What's
an
available.
existing library. Yeah.
No, I mean, I would love to have more access to like the science and the creation and innovation of new materials like this, because I do feel like we have so much to give and be like, we love this, but this is only available, this will only work for this type of garment. If you make it like this, it could work for these types of garments, which would open up doors for more, usage. I think it's such valuable information.
Yeah, and I think that material innovation without sincere commitment and engagement of a designer or multiple designers doesn't work out at all.
Yeah.
It's totally isolated, and it lives then in the, I would say, mind of the tech guys, while the designer asks for things nobody would otherwise think of, or sees uses even in failures. Something might look like a failure, but it might be the biggest strength of a new material.
Yeah, and also like as designers, we have a responsibility of what we're showing on the runway to create trends. And so if we're using certain types of materials in a certain way, we can create a trend that will trickle down to other usages and other designers using the same types of material, and we can really create around knowing that this material will go a lot farther if we believe in something.
That's the biggest contribution the fashion industry can really do and give to our movement, to the material revolution. Setting new material standards, making it attractive and desirable to work with new materials.
Totally.
And showing them in application, because looking at a swatch is one thing. Looking at a look is a total different thing. Seeing it on the runway, my God, that even changes the perspective.
And then seeing it in public and wearing it out.
Yeah.
And people being like, oh my God, that's made of what?
Yeah, exactly.
And this is how you create people wanting it, people hearing about it, word of mouth.
Yeah.
And then the industry just adapting it as their own,
So Tomtex is very different than Bananatex. It builds on biofabrication. And the material is based on chitin that you find in mycelium, which is fungi and mushroom roots, or in the shell of animals, which of course for a vegan is not per se what we want.
So we're finding it in mushrooms?
Yeah, exactly. So chitin has been found, so Tomtex is a different approach than Bananatex. They're basing their material on chitin, which you find in mycelium, the roots of mushrooms, and in other places in nature. And they're layering this gel-ish substance on a, let's say, a liner, like it could be a cotton liner, could be a Bananatex liner, could be anything, and they're building it up to the level that it feels like a very thick and stable material. Cool. And then they can give it any kind of surface look. It can look like it can mimic leather, or it can have a total new aesthetic.
Okay, cool.
And it's great because it's actually based on the agricultural waste that is coming from food streams that otherwise would end up in landfills.
Okay, where is this made?
Here in New York City.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh,
Brooklyn.
okay. I'll have to come.
Yeah, it's a good one
to see
for
it.
you.
Yeah.
You should. And it's interesting because it behaves nearly like a synthetic material, if you wanted to. But then it's totally zero non-toxic and has zero plastic in it.
And is it available on the market now?
No.
When? Yeah. See, that's the biggest problem I find with these innovations and new technologies, is that it's very hard for them to be ready in the market, and if they're available and how much you can use. And as a smaller designer, don't typically want to work with people like us. So it's really just about pushing and like.
I don't agree with that.
I think that material innovators actually need small studios and small brands, because they are working often with these major companies and nothing sees the light of day.
Yeah.
It takes forever. There is no real exchange. And material innovators are starving really to have that exchange with a designer.
Yeah.
So I think in theory, they want to work with you. They just probably haven't met you.
Yeah.
And I think our role at Parley is to kind of connect these two worlds.
Okay, so in 2022, you celebrated your 10-year anniversary since you developed ocean plastic. What do you envision for ocean plastic over the next decade?
Yeah, we started Parley 2012, and we went straight for overfishing, shark finning especially.
Okay.
And it was really hard. Nobody wanted to hear about animals being slaughtered out there in the wild.
Yeah.
And we pivoted and we went for plastic pollution because we felt that's a cause everybody will be able to relate to.
Totally.
Because it looks really wrong to see the belly of a bird or a whale filled up with plastic waste, and often products that could come directly out of the refrigerator
Yeah.
of every consumer on this planet.
Except for us.
So that was the entrance really for us into making the ocean conservation movement more mainstream than it was before. Plastic is toxic. Plastic is a design failure. It causes so many illnesses. It's a threat for animals out there. It's a threat for us humans.
If you could go back in time, would you change the invention of plastic?
I think we invented ocean plastic as a catalyst, really, as a stepping stone out of plastic. Because recycling is so expensive and so complicated, it will never really 100% work for plastic.
Yeah, well, and the microplastics and everything.
And the problem with plastic is it sheds microparticles, it gases off, it leaches chemicals. It's just a bad material. Governments should ban it. Plastic is a poster child for all these toxic chemicals out there.
Yeah.
So if I could go back in time, yes, of course, I would try to get rid of everything toxic. But we humans got so excited about what we can do.
Yeah.
And the last 50 years are dominated by someone inventing a new material, a new product, not thinking it through.
Yeah.
And not thinking it through is something we couldn't have changed back then, even with a time machine, because at the beginning of such technical innovation and these new global markets, people were simply not ready.
Yeah.
They were not ready to hold still. They wanted to throw everything out there which could make a buck and could prove that they are genius. It's different today, you know. Now we know. We know that chemical fertilizers are a problem, weed killer is a problem, plastic is a problem. I mean, there are many products that are a serious problem that were celebrated as the fantastic future back then.
But if any scientists know of any time travel machines, we are open to trying this method.
I'm so open to time traveling. Yeah. You have no idea.
Yeah. That'd be great. I will go with you. Can you talk about how Parley For the Ocean partnered with Dior? And can you share any other examples of creative partnerships that really spoke to circular design that you feel were successful? I mean, you spoke about Kim Jones, but I think we should talk about it a little more.
The partnership with Dior opened for us the opportunity to optimize materials, to learn so much from the artisans in the studio, but on the other hand, also to work with that luxurious supply chain. And that asks a lot from materials that you're creating. You know, it is a total different demand, you know, and a variety. Options obviously is something that a designer in luxury really needs and wants. And it took us 2 years really to bring our materials to the level that they can be put into a collection.
Yeah.
And that helps us now to provide materials to all other brands.
That's cool.
So Kim and his team really did a service to us. They increased and speeded up our research and development phase, something we couldn't have afforded ourselves.
So are you optimistic about anything, and who are you excited to collaborate with next?
I'm extremely optimistic.
Wow, love that.
Because we humans are champions of survival. And we're not stupid enough to kill ourselves, even if it looks that way.
Yeah.
I believe that we will see an explosion of innovation coming. And on the other side, people going back to materials and life forms that worked in the past. And I think out of that comes an interesting hybrid of total high-tech future and high-tech coming from this planet and being on this planet way before we humans arrived. And also what makes me extremely optimistic is that the next generation is fed up supporting corporations which are destroying their future.
Totally.
When I look at the next generation of activists, when I'm looking at Parley youth chapters, they are already now able to express themselves. They can walk up to the president of a country at COP28 and speak simple truth in a non-hostile way, in a very honest, direct, and ultimate way. And I find that there is a group in youth growing into leadership way faster than in any generation before, which is sad that it's needed, but it's of course encouraging for me to see, because there is a new wave of talent coming that will take over governments, that will take over companies. So that is the biggest, I would say, source of optimism that I have. Female leaders, I mean, that's something you haven't seen in the past that much, you know, and female leaders make better decisions.
Thank you.
No, it's the truth. That's what I'm seeing.
I fully believe that.
And I also see my own organization. as such a high level and high percentage of female staff, because they have the passion and they can actually unite for a cause easier than men can do.
It's also, I think there's a level of empathy and understanding and seeing the bigger picture.
Necessity.
Yeah.
Taking care and owning
Yeah.
and not fearing the responsibility, not shying away. And men tend to hide and behind seemingly rational reasons.
Or numbers.
Numbers or ego.
Yeah,
You know?
numbers and ego are the biggest.
So I think honestly the youth and so I really think the future is young and female.
Well, this was great. Thank you so much. It was fun. Always great to talk to you.
Hillary, my favorite.
Yes.